and what we're going to talk about with Ken today and what he's going to tell us about. Ken, before you start, mate, can you tell us a little bit about who is Ken Gamble? Where does he work and what's his background?
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Well, I've been a private investigator for 35 years. I started in 1988 with a company called Webster's Investigations, and I have been working in the industry in all various different classes of the industry types, surveillance work, insurance work, intellectual property, anti-counterfeiting, anti-piracy. I reckon I've done just about everything you could do in the industry. Back in the late 90s, I started working overseas, and I started to become fascinated with international work. And in 2007, I co-founded IFW Global with one of my business partners, Alan Watson, who's my co-director. And then we started focusing on cybercrime and international cyber fraud. And that is the area, of course, back in 2007, that's when internet fraud was taking off. So I developed IFW Global, which I'm now the executive chairman and director of IFW. And IFW Global is licensed by the New South Wales Police as a private investigation firm, but we operate internationally. We've got an office in Miami, overseas in America, and we have operatives and networks all over the world. And these days we're focused heavily on large-scale financial crime, so investigating scam syndicates, investigating international money laundering, and networks of criminals who band together to scam Australians and scam other people around the world. And that has been my passion and my focus and the business focus of IFW for the past really, 17 years since we started.
It's been an amazing journey, Ken, and I've watched it all the way since Webster's, and it's a credit to you and Alan and the team what you've done. Recently, you engaged one of my students, a lady, to work with you on a project. It was pretty high profile and people can see all about it on the news. And before she went on it, I said, when you work for Ken Gamble, you're at the top of your game. And she finished that assignment with you and she came back to me and she said, Mike, I'll never forget what you said. She said, you're absolutely right. So.
Yeah, we've established a good reputation. We've worked hard for it. There's a lot of blood, sweat and tears have gone into building the networks that we have around the world. And it's more than just being a good investigator. You have to be a good networker. You have to be able to establish relationships, personal relationships with intelligence firms, private firms, government agencies, law enforcement, and the media, of course, because the media are on your back. The moment you start doing things of media-worthy cases or cases that are high profile, you're going to have the media following you and asking a lot of questions. So you've really got to be able to handle all these different aspects of the industry. And if you're a good networker and you can get out there and network and be passionate about what you do, then you've got, the sky's the limit. And I never believed that there was, you get to the end of the line as a private investigator. This is a massive industry across the world. This is one of the best jobs to be in, I think, in this day and age, where investigators are being called upon more and more, even by government agencies. And I think we're in a growing industry across the world, and we've really tried to keep ourselves at the forefront of that by constantly keeping abreast of the type of crimes that have been committed and the type of things that need to be investigated privately opposed to by law enforcement. So we're happy to be where we are, and we're absolutely honoured to have a great team and to have the network that we've developed over the years, and very proud to have got this far and still going after 35 years.
So you should be, Ken. You really should be. And just look, in summary, people, you are going to build an investigation business just like Ken has. You're motivated and you want to do that. To achieve that kind of global reach that you so desire, you're going to be doing your research, planning, logistics, your technology, your interviews, your surveillance, your coordination with law enforcement, as Ken said, your execution of the investigation activities, your recovery of whatever it is, and reviewing your work. In all of that, you're creating a network. network. And in this industry, people, your network is your net worth. And I don't ever want you to forget that. You have a good network where you go out and you meet with the right people, interact with the right people. This goes beyond social networking. And what Ken is laying out before us today is a really great opportunity to commence building that network. Ken, can you tell us all about what's coming up with the summit in November, please?
Yes, absolutely. So IFW Global has partnered up with the International Association of Cybercrime Prevention, and we're co-hosting the Global Financial Crime Summit in Sydney on the 14th and 15th of November. The website, which I'm sure Mike will be putting up, is ifwglobalevents.com. Now, what we've done is we've assembled high-profile thought leaders in the industry of fighting global financial crime. Now, these are people from US Secret Service, the United Nations Drugs Office and Crime. We have law enforcement from Cambodia, Philippines. Also got the ATO here in Australia speaking. We've got Combank speaking. We've got OFX. We've got, Binance, one of our contacts in Israel, who's the head of anti-money laundering for Binance across the world. So we've got a really good array of professionals that are thought leaders in the industry of global financial crime, because financial crime these days is always perpetrated by criminals offshore. It has become a very global issue, more so than just a localized issue. And it's one where we have to work and collaborate with partnerships, and we have to build networks. So I would not be where I am, and IFW wouldn't be where it is without the network that we've built over the years around the world. So we're bringing in some really top speakers that are going to be addressing various different topics in relation to financial crime and what they experience. Some of these people are battling on the front of financial crime overseas, but they all have their own different issues that they're facing. And of course, when you get these types of people together in one room, it's you can see the magic happen, because everybody is addressing different aspects of financial crime fighting, and also the struggles that we're all having with addressing some of the key issues and the difficulties and complexities that law enforcement agencies are facing in relation to cross-border, multi-jurisdictional international fraud, which is something that is causing a massive problem around the world for all countries. And I think it's an opportunity for people to hear from these experts, and also to network with other like-minded individuals who are in the industry, who come from agencies that you may need to work with one day, such as law enforcement. There'll be a lot of law enforcement people attending, and you may need those people one day in the course of your line of work. You may need to reach out and engage with law enforcement, and you'll be able to learn how to do that at this event. How do you approach law enforcement? How do you open those doors with these types of agencies? How do you get up there alongside these global law enforcement agencies and actually be able to work alongside them? Not only law enforcement, but anti-corruption agencies. So if you have to go into a country where police corruption is an issue, there are other alternatives, as we demonstrated last year in Malaysia. We went to the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission to arrest 81 fraudsters in a very large syndicate based in Kuala Lumpur in Operation Tropicana. So this event is really a must attend for anybody that's really serious about expanding their network and who's really serious about progressing their career and perhaps getting involved in international work in the fraud, financial crime fraud space, or money laundering, or anything to do with financial crime, which is a very large industry, of course, across the world. So this is the first time we've hosted the summit. I'll be chairing the summit. I'm excited to be hosting the event. We may do this annually. We're not sure. Let's see how it goes. We will be deciding once we may decide at the end of this event, but we hope to be doing it again on an annual basis. And I will most certainly be hosting and chairing smaller events and seminars of the same type, maybe not with as many international guests, but I'll certainly be hosting these types of conferences in the future. I would like to do several of these per year if I have my way.
Yeah, my word. What's impressive is what Ken just said. In the future, you're going to have to learn how to liaise with local law enforcement. I get a lot of young people coming to me saying, oh, I want to go and kidnap children back for their mother who with their father took off overseas with them. And I just say, look, mate, stay right out of that. Don't go and do that. I had a personal experience many years ago where a young lady in the community in regional Australia where I lived, she decided to convert herself and go and save souls in the Philippines, in correctional facilities in the Philippines. And she was going to convert the wretched poor souls to Christianity. She went in to do that with a team of other people. The prisoners all rioted, held them hostage, and on the way out of the correctional facility with knives to their throat, the army were waiting for them to come out, and they machine gunned the whole lot of them on TV, on the ABC at night. And it was awful to watch, and I knew the girl, and I couldn't watch it myself. But you must understand how it works in other people's cultures, other people's countries. And it's a really dangerous place, the Philippines. Like Ken went and moved to live there. So I couldn't grasp that. But, you know, as an investigator, if you're going to coordinate international crime, financial crime in particular, which is what you're going to be paid to do, right, you must have that understanding, that networking, and those coordinate, and they're not impossible to get, are they, Ken?
Not at all. And you've got to have something that they want as well. You know, law enforcement agencies they're not the ultimate experts at financial crime. They have their financial crime divisions, they have their cyber crime divisions, and they're very talented. But they don't hold the key to solving all the cases, and they need help from external agencies, particularly the private sector, whether it's cybersecurity, whether it's people like us, whether it's some other type of skill set. If you have a skill set that you're good at and you think that law enforcement agencies would benefit, then you should put yourself forward to be able to offer your services. Not that the police are going to employ you. That's the other thing. The police can't employ you because they have their own people, but you can get involved with companies that do have relationships with law enforcement, and you can bring your skill sets forward and do this type of work. And a lot of these law enforcement agencies are successful because they have private sector experts coming in and giving them training, teaching them how to do certain aspects of this type of international fraud. But it's all about networking. It's all about getting in front of them. But most importantly, it's about building trusted relationships, because when you go into a foreign country and you don't have trusted relationships with law enforcement, you can't just rock up to a police station and provide evidence of a crime and expect the police to go out and do something. You could be putting your life in danger in some countries by even doing that. So you have to understand the culture, the way in which foreign laws work. The foreign law enforcement agencies are very different to Australia. The legal systems are very different. There is a lot of entrenched corruption in a lot of countries around the world, particularly countries in Southeast Asia. So you have to be very cautious and very mindful of how you navigate the corruption while you're on your way to providing evidence to a law enforcement agency. You have to build the evidence. You have to present yourself as a professional. And the only way to do that is to get in front of these officials and build relationships. And I wouldn't be able to do any of the work that I do around the world if it wasn't for the relationships and the trusted relationships and the network that I've been able to build over years and years. And I can tell you, it cost me a lot of money in airfares to fly. I just arrived back in Australia last weekend, and I'm flying off again this weekend back to Southeast Asia again, because there's a lot happening. So it costs a lot of money to go overseas. Not everyone can afford it, but you have to invest in traveling. You have to invest in getting yourself in front of people. And that's why we're hosting the Global Financial Crime Summit. It's an opportunity to get in front of people that you would normally never be able to get in front of.
Ken, you've covered networking and liaison with authorities in other countries. What are some of the other 2 or 3 good reasons to attend the summit in November, mate?
Well, there's a lot of great topics being discussed, so you can actually develop a very intricate understanding of all the different types of crimes. Financial crime and scams, everyone knows they're big, but nobody really knows how they all work. So you're going to get inside information about who the people are behind these syndicates, what type of organised crime groups are doing all this, where's it coming from. Surprisingly, only a small number of organised crime groups are doing a lot of the scamming in Australia from overseas. You're also going to look at, learn about some of the technology that's being used, particularly AI. This is an incredible technology for us investigators to be able to use AI to help us to do certain things. We can't rely on AI too much, but AI is here to stay and it's not going away. So you better learn a lot about how to use it and also how to combat crimes that have been committed with the help of AI. So there's a lot of focus on technology. There's focus on prevention. You're going to learn techniques if you are working in fraud within a government agency or a corporate body or even individually for a small business. You're going to learn about prevention techniques and about countermeasures that can be put in place to prevent fraud. You can learn about how to collaborate. How do you collaborate with law enforcement? How do you get these agencies, regulatory agencies and law enforcement, how do you get them interested in your problem within your workplace? Is it something the government or law enforcement is going to be interested in? And if so, how do you present that case to law enforcement? So you're going to learn all types of different skills that are going to be able to open up the doors for you to step into, a larger pool of resources and a larger network of people around the world. Some of these international guests have never been to Australia that are coming in, and you'll be able to open a door up potentially in a foreign country, say the Philippines or Cambodia. We've got officials from law enforcement coming from those countries. So you may have a case, you may have an offender, someone you're investigating over in those countries. You may be able to reach out and ask for help or ask for the correct referral process through one of the people you may meet at the conference. Whereas if you don't have those connections, it's going to be very difficult. So there's the technology, the AI, the networking, the collaboration, the prevention techniques. And these are the types of things that are being spoken about. So quite a wide array of different aspects of financial crime that you can familiarise yourself and be immersed with. And I think that after the 2-day event, you're going to go away with quite a lot of information to digest, and probably going to be quite exciting for some people because you'll realise there's a huge, massive industry out there that's still growing, and there's a lot of opportunities to be able to work in that industry across the world, not just here in Australia.
One observation, Ken, is we did an exercise in this program several months ago where we exhibited the diversity of the people that are watching, and we simply asked them to say hello in the chat in their original language that they spoke when they were growing up, apart from English. And I think we got something like 45 responses of hello in different languages. So there are people out there that are primed and set with an understanding of cultures in other countries who have the investigation skill sets and, like you say, have a specialist area where they can grow their business globally. And, what you're setting up on this platform is stuff that when I attended similar things 20 years ago, 25 years ago, they set me up for life. And so that those same people now who are younger and emerging, coming through, g'day, Chris, it's coffee time, mate. Yeah, I know. They have the opportunities that you just laid out there before them. Now, you can't ring up Ken and say, how do I do this or how do I do that? That's not the point. The point is you go to this event, you get it off all those people that are there, and then you can use it. Now, there's a link in the description all about signing up for the event. Ken, I know your time's valuable, mate, and I really appreciate you giving it up. But if you had some tips, 3 top tips for emerging investigators moving forward, what would your advice be?
Number one, focus on what it is that you're passionate about. I know investigators that have been working for 20 years in the industry and they ain't doing what they're passionate about, because I've asked them. And, you know, you have to find your passion. You have to love what you do and do what you love. So it's one thing to become an investigator and get licensed and, you know, investigate whatever it is that you're investigating. But I think everyone has a spark inside them that really has a passion to do something bigger than what we're doing. I know I have, and I think a lot of people that work for me have that spark as well. We want to be doing big things. We want to be changing the world, right? We want to be able to service other people and help others. So whatever it is you're doing, I think look at what it is that you are really passionate about, and also what is it that, where is your skill level? What is your real skills in this industry? What is your skill set? You may be really passionate and skilled with covert work, with covert surveillance. You may be very passionate and skilled with interviewing people and taking statements and getting in front of people. You may be very passionate about wanting to do undercover operations over in foreign countries. You know, so there's a whole range of different skill sets that you need for this industry. And I think find out what is your passion, what is your skill set, and focus on pursuing that, because there's a lot of opportunities out there to be able to pursue those skills. And thirdly, the networking. Without networking, you ain't got anything in this industry. You can never go anywhere, and you can't be bigger. You can't make more money. You can't be more experienced and without having a network. Now, that network might be your network of investigators in Brisbane, could be your network in Queensland, in New South Wales. It could be your network across the country, or it could be your network across the world. And what I know from when I started, I had a network of investigators in Sydney in 1988. By the mid-90s, we started to expand interstate. We started to build a network of investigators in Victoria, South Australia, Western Australia, Queensland. We started to build our network around the country because some of our cases started taking us across borders. And then in the early 2000s, I started realizing that our cases were branching overseas. So I started thinking, you know what, I need a network overseas. So I started to build a network in Southeast Asia originally, the Oceania, Pacific. I started building my contacts in Southeast Asia. In 1997, I went to the Philippines. I started working with an international group. I started working in countries like China, Philippines, Malaysia, Thailand, Indonesia, these sort of countries, close to home, not too far away. And then by the end of the 2000s, the 2007 onwards, we started working globally in Europe, in America, in Africa. We started branching out, and that network slowly grew bigger and bigger and bigger. So if you have the focus on what is your real skill set that you can offer to the industry, focus really what is the type of work that you're really passionate about, and what it is that you would really love to do, instead of being, you know, in a comfort zone of doing what's paying well. And then that third one is really building your network. If you are passionate about what you do, you've got to have a network. And if you build that network and you focus on those three things, there's no reason why you can't be very successful in what you do.
Absolutely no reason whatsoever. You might have a special interest in crypto. You might want to bust romance scams because of a bad experience. You can. And that is something that you can develop and you can grow. You put together a team, you have a network, you have your skills, you constantly do your training, like you show up here each week it just gets better and better, and your value proposition for your clients grows expediently with that. Ken, mate, look, stick around. Thanks very much for coming in. I really appreciate Ken giving up his time. I don't know how he sat still long enough, because he's got to go overseas and get back for the conference, which is happening. Due to unforeseen circumstances, there won't be a Spy Curious following this program today. That will come through tomorrow morning. So I do apologise for that. See you next week, people. Thanks for coming in, Ken.
Thank you very much, Mike. Appreciate it.